Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey, rockers, we've got another musician joining us today that's creating rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. And you need to know about this band. The band is Fraxures, and joining us from Fraxures is lead vocalist Travis Neal. How you doing, Travis?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for taking some time for Radio Bypass. I'm excited to talk to you about Fraxures and your debut single, or your current single. I guess it's not technically a debut.
Yeah.
But it is a new band for me, I'll be honest. I was not aware of Fraxures till now, until last month. So I thought it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about the band. How did the band come together? How long you guys been together?
I guess if we could consider Fraxures being a active project since, kind of pre-pandemic, probably right before it happened. We were a different band at the time. We were trying something new, and we realized that Fraxures kind of was the byproduct of of that experiment, and so we rebranded everything. So here we are now. I would say, yeah, like I said, pre-pandemic, and kind of a few years now.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. And you had an EP or something out once before, right? Like in maybe 3 years ago or so.
Yeah, the Firewater Sessions. That was kind of like the beginning of the band, so to speak. The end of the old band and the beginning of the new band.
Gotcha. Well, the debut single that we've got to hear, I played it on our music show last month, and we'll add it to the end of our chat here today as well.
Awesome.
Blackheart Serenade. Love the song. There's, it's definitely metal, but also there's just this melody that is in there as well. And I love the way the song was written. Were you the writer of that song?
Yes. Yeah. Lyrically, melody wise. Yeah, that was all me. I came in with I guess you could say the meat and potatoes of it. And then Nolan came in, with his vocals and his ideas, and just kind of peppered in some spices to it, and now we got it. So
that's great. Yeah. Cause I love the way it's structured. And lyrically too. I mean, I think it's just a really cool song. And again, guys, if you didn't hear it when we played it on the music show, you're going to hear it and you're going to love it. But what else could you tell us? So we've got this leadoff single. I'm assuming, hopefully, that there's an album cooking, but I know we're in a singles world today as well. Any idea? Do you guys have any plans of maybe some more singles over months, or do we have an album coming? What can we expect from Fraxures?
The plan is we have 3 to 4 singles that we're going to release, and then the plan is to release the full record, hopefully, if all works out, in the fall. Blackheart was the first single from the record. We felt it was a great song that showcased, basically a well-rounded version of what we are. And it allowed us to kind of reintroduce ourselves to our fan base due to our time away. And also, kind of with the evolved sound of what we have. So definitely a full length. We all kind of really wanted to go that route. We talked about singles. We talked about another EP. And us as musicians, and as long as we've been working together with each other, even pre-Fraxures, we just kind of felt we owed it to ourselves, and the people that have followed our band this long to put out a full length. It's been kind of like a milestone for us, and we're really, really excited. We took a lot of time to create the record. It's in the mixing stages right now, and we're really excited for people to hear it.
So you feel that this will be this album will be a really good representation of what Fraxures is in 2025 then?
Absolutely. It's still very familiar to those that are familiar with the band. but it's definitely a lot different in the same, in the same aspect.
Mhm. Gotcha. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about yourself because I understand you've been in some other metal bands prior to this as well. You've been at it for a while, um, and not, again, sorry to say, I'm just learning of you and
No
a little
problem.
bit about your background, but I'm always intrigued by that, and I love learning about new bands and new music, and always kind of curious, about the journey people have. So has everything been, metal for you, or have you been in other types of bands as well?
Yeah, for the most part, I guess I could say that I've made, my career in music. I mean, mostly doing heavy stuff. I was in a band called Divine Heresy that was uh, pretty aggressive, pretty extreme, pretty straightforward without being like a death metal band or anything like that. It was kind of led by guitarist Dino Cazares from Fear Factory.
Hmm.
It was basically Fear Factory on steroids, if you can imagine that. So that kind of broke me into doing it on a global scale
Uh,
and out of the local scene. And then I've done that. I was in another band called The Bloodline that was signed to Central Media. That was, I guess, still metal, but more active rock at the same time. I've got to play with some musicians in different parts of the world. I had a band in Sweden called The Bereaved. That was, melodic Swedish metal, which I love. And to get a chance to do it with authentic dudes instead of guys that love that music that were just recreating it was
right,
really
right.
cool. And then just session stuff here and there. I do dabble in a lot of other stuff besides metal. Like I said, I've been playing metal my whole life, so I do. I have like kind of a solo thing that I do that's more singer songwriter with elements of like electronic and pop music in there too, which I love. And so I guess long story short, yeah, metal, and then I tend to dip my toes into other ponds as I walk along the path of heavy music.
Right. Well, yeah, that's kind of why I asked because I'm always amazed. Like, my love of metal is really, out of date, right, from a long time ago. Because what I would consider true metal bands that I've always loved are like, the Iron Maidens and Judas Priests and stuff like that, Metallica. Um, and then newer metal, I'm now discovering a lot of it that I'm liking in bands that I wasn't aware of. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of old metal, but then I also like some other stuff. I like Bob Seger and things like that. And so as I meet other metal enthusiasts, even the ones that like my old metal, it is kind of interesting because I think there was a time, at least for me, and it sounds like for many, where it was just metal, metal, metal. If it
Mhm.
wasn't screaming, you weren't into it, and then as the years go by, you kind of start getting into other things that interest you in addition to that. You don't give up your first love. And so that's why I asked you that question. I was curious if you just fully are you're full on metal or if you too perhaps dabble in other things.
I I definitely dabble. I think as a songwriter, it's very important to have a wide palette of the stuff that you listen to. If you're only into metal and as a songwriter, I don't think that you'll ever really be able to step out of one genre, and then and over time you need to kind of step out of those genres if you really want to, you know, evolve or just create something unique,
Mhm.
because you know how it is. I mean, we've witnessed the birth of heavy music and kind of like music in general, throughout the years. Not to say that personally we witnessed it, but we've seen the upbringing of it. And um, I mean, everything's been done. It's kind of hard to create something new and unique
Right.
without fusing different genres together that may not belong together
Mhm.
cleverly and making it work. So, yeah, I feel like in order to be a good songwriter and somebody that can, you step into, any situation, you have to kind of like open your palette up and be able to listen to, Metallica or listen to Lamb of God, and then, go and dig Justin Timberlake and Post Malone at the same time. You know what I mean? Just, and be able to understand what they're doing and love it for what it is, instead of just hating on it because it's not your thing.
Right, right. Which I used to do, admittedly, when
Yeah.
I was
Oh, I
younger.
did. I did too. I did too. When I was younger, it was, if it wasn't heavy, it was crap. You know what I mean? It was like I clowned on so many bands, and I hated so many bands, like classic rock bands, that are now like my favorite bands, like my
Uh,
all time favorite bands. And I'm like, how could I even dislike this band? It's amazing.
I don't know. There's just something yeah, it just happens. Because yeah, I was the same way. I'd have friends like I'm listening to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple
Mhm.
and things like that. And then when the Bee Gees really hit big with Saturday Night Fever and stuff, I've got friends that are getting into the Bee Gees. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crap. And I just couldn't listen to it. If the guitars weren't screaming, I just
Yeah.
couldn't any part of it and hated it. But then over time, it's like, well, I see some value to this too.
Yeah.
My favorite music's still my favorite music, and it's always
Hmm.
going to be my favorite music, I guess, because I really haven't changed what I like the most. But I'm certainly much more open to other things, and I don't
Yeah.
immediately, like you said, hate on it.
Yeah. We mature as human beings, and then our tastes mature as well. You stuff you listen to now, you might have, like I said, hated 10 years ago, and just could never picture yourself listening to that kind of stuff, or even being involved in being a fan of it.
Right, right. So for Fractures, if somebody is new to the band, as was I, what would you describe your band as? Like, what would you tell people about your band?
I would say, for anybody that would listen to, I mean, anything from heavy to metalcore to, you know, um, just standard metal to, modern metal. I guess you'd consider, bands that play, newer music. Not to say we sound like them, but you got bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Bad Omen and Sleep Token. Um, and they're like the next wave of the heavy music. It's very, very reminiscent of traditional heavy stuff. There's elements of it, but then there's elements of pop hooks and pop structures. And so I think that the listener, when they would listen to Fractures, I mean, they can expect um, you know to, I guess, not get bored within the first a minute of the song. Kind of like, okay, this is basically every other band that's out there. It's really hard to describe your own art and your own music. You're like, okay, well, what would you say that you would sound like? Well, I don't know. I don't think I sound like anything. I don't know what we would compare ourselves to, but I know that a listener would probably be able to hear a lot of our influences as musicians, not collectively as a band, but what each musician is bringing to the table. And
Mm,
I think that there's something for everybody in there.
gotcha. Okay, good. Well, I know I look forward to hearing more from you guys for sure. And I agree. I think in Blackheart Serenade, that is kind of what it is. You do hear a lot of there's a lot going on there. Like I said,
Yeah.
you got that melodic piece of it, and then you get really heavy for a piece, and then it's kind of calm again and soothing, and then boom, it hits you
Yeah.
again. And I like that. It takes you on a ride for sure.
Yeah. Waves of emotion. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Lyrically, did anything personally inspire that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. so, so, the lyric writing process to this whole record, it's taken me quite a while. And, I mean, quite a while. I was struggling with writer's block and everything. It's been a couple years, and I had some health problems that took me out for about a year. And
Oh my.
And then when I came back to it, it was like, between everything that was going on in my personal life before the health problems, then the health problems taking me out, and like everything that was going on, then it was just like, when I sat down to write, the floodgate just kind of opened. As soon as I opened the faucet, it's like the handle broke and I couldn't turn the water off. And now I'm going to be screwed with $1,000 water bill because my sink's going to run for a month. But that's exactly what happened for like 3 months. The sink ran, and every single song on this record is very, very personal to me in one way or another. Whether it's, personal experiences, whether it's lessons learned, or, just life lessons gained. It definitely digs deep. And that's another reason why I'm really excited to put it out, because, it allowed me to exhale all of that kind of stuff that was in there. And, being a fan of music and being a fan of a lot of bands that do, pour their souls out into their music. I can identify with those songs,
Hmm.
and they take me to a place, where maybe where I was struggling, and I hear that somebody else, somebody I look up to was struggling and got through it. And this is kind of their experience. And I know that there's parts of these songs that will help other people get through some tough times as well. They're hard songs and they're emotional, but they all take us on a path, and I'm here because of those experiences. And a lot of people that live their lives, they're there because of those experiences. And it's nice to be able to hear something or see something on TV or whatever that kind of takes you back and makes you remember those bad times, or makes you remember those tough times, and then remember getting through it as well.
Right.
The triumphant moment where it didn't beat you and you beat it.
Right. Yeah. The only good thing about going through bad times is that it does make you appreciate the good times.
Absolutely.
That's the good part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it when songs, when songs are written from that place, because I know sometimes maybe, it could be almost too emotional for the singer and hard to sing when you're doing it
Mm.
live. But at the same time, I feel like when it's like that, although I mean there have been singers that they could sing a song somebody else wrote, and it still feels like it's their story that they're telling, but oftentimes that's not the case. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I think when it's coming from so deep inside your heart and soul, it translates through to the listener, and then those are the songs that we all gravitate toward,
Oh yeah.
and and
Yeah.
and being able to feel like, okay, I'm not the only person that had this, whatever that is, that's coming out in that song.
Yeah. Some of my favorite singers that I've picked up from and influenced by throughout the years are, singers that can write lyrics and sing a song and to the listener, and you can listen to that song and literally close your eyes and know exactly where they were at when they wrote it and exactly what they were going through. And you could
Mhm.
feel it. You can feel that energy kind of push through the music. And that's what, I'm an emotional guy anyway. So I tend to write emotional, and, you know, um, it's just, most of the time it's negative emotions, but hey, that's how us musicians, we bleed. We exhale our traumas through our music. And I mean, that's why we love music, because people exhale their whatever it is into their music. And that's why we love these bands, because of their personal energy that they put into it, whether it's good,
Right.
whether it's bad, whether it's all over the place. I mean, it's the all over the place ones are the best ones.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we love
agree.
Pink Floyd. I mean, it's all over the place,
That
you know,
it is.
and it's one of the most amazing bands on the planet, in my opinion.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you talk about different people that you like, listening to Blackheart Serenade, your vocals. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you're singing, right? Because of the way the song is structured. So So we know you love metal, of course, but I feel like you had to have a couple of different singers that were probably influential in creating some of the different sounds that I'm hearing coming out of you. Who were a couple of your main influences, would you say?
Um, my my influence is kind of like they vary sometimes. I have like core influences. I mean, you know, it's hard to when I get raspy, whether it sounds like these people or not. But like James Hetfield was huge when I was younger,
Hmm.
with the rasp, and then Nick Holmes from Paradise Lost. I've always loved his kind of like voice, but I love one of my favorite singers. His name's Dallas Green, and he has a solo project or a solo band that became like a full band called City and Color. And he was the guitar player. Actually, he still is the guitar player and clean singer in a kind of like a screamo band called Alexis on Fire. And Dallas is like the maestro to my pain. Sometimes, he's not afraid to sing about tough things, and his voice is just it's one of those things where it's like it hits you in so many different spots. um and then I love The Weeknd. I love like the old Post Malone stuff. I love you know like black metal. I've been into like ethereal black metal lately, and like old school death metal. So, a lot of those things come in. But I'm a big fan in general of pop music. So writing as a singer, I mean, some of the songs that I mean have remained stuck in my head, whether it's while I'm walking down a hall somewhere, or getting ready for bed or whatever. I'll have like a hook that sticks in my head from 20 years ago. It's
Uh,
always a pop song. It's
that's
always a pop
funny.
song, so it's like I tend to write a lot in pop structure and pop hooks, whether it's heavy vocals or whether it's clean vocals. Those hooks and those patterns, they're kind of the earworms. There's the worms that stick in your head, and um, I love when music does that to me,
Hmm.
even when it's a terrible song and you cannot get it out of your head. I mean, to me that's what gets the listener engaged. It's like when they wake up the next day and they're like, God, I hate this song. It's stuck in my head. Then they listen to it and then they love it, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think a song from a songwriting perspective, I think you've written a successful song in two different ways. One would be when you do have a hook that sticks in you, and somebody keeps hearing the lyric, maybe the chorus or a line even of a song, and they keep hearing it in their head. That's one success. And the second, when you can take a song that maybe does have a ton of instruments in it, and it still sounds really cool with just an acoustic guitar and a vocal.
Mm,
If you
yeah.
strip the song down and it still sounds cool, you've written a successful song. And then if it sticks in your head,
Yeah, I would love to transcribe, Blackheart into an acoustic song. We had a single on our Firewater EP called Remember, and we did an acoustic version of that. We haven't released it yet, but that was kind of like one of the things that we did in the studio. When we set out to record this record, we got like 14 songs ready
Mhm.
for this thing. Obviously, 10 or 11 are going to go on there, and we decided to go in and just kind of, break down some of the other songs. And Remember was one of them. And I think I'm interested to see if we can do Blackheart like that too, because my brain goes immediately to like that acoustic soul vocal, take a song and be able to transcribe it into something totally different, stripped down, where it just has, you're not listening to the same song anymore, but it is the same song, and it is, but it's like a whole different take on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when it works like that, like I say, then I think if I was the songwriter, then I consider that a successful song because
Yeah.
sometimes you can't strip a song down to an acoustic and still have
Yeah.
it sound like a good song.
Yeah. Well, we're challenge accepted. I think we're going to try.
Well, that's good. As far as seeing the band, you guys have any live things coming up at all?
Yeah, right now we're not really venturing too far out of the local area because, like I said, we were out of the game for a little bit due to just unforeseen issues and writing and everything. So reintroducing ourselves to our local crowd, and kind
And
of
you're
getting back
San
out there and
Diego
playing.
based?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, technically San Diego based. Fred's up in Long Beach, and Vinny, our bass player, he's in Mission Viejo, kind of Orange County, and then Nolan, SD, and myself are here in San Diego. We all were here at one time, but kind of work took us out of the out into different
Immediate
areas.
area.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we have a show coming up on March 15th at the Holding Company in Ocean Beach. It's a killer venue. We're playing with. It was a band that used to be around for a while, and they kind of made a resurrection. They're called Stretcher. And then there's a band that just won the Battle for Vakken, and they went over and played Vakken over the summer of last year called Cascade Effect. Awesome band, awesome dudes. There's another band called Contortion that's really, really starting to get some traction. They got a record that came out. I actually did guest vocals on, but they have some heavy hitters doing some guest stuff on there. Plus, their music's awesome. And then it's the debut of a band called Splitter. That's from here in San Diego that we're excited to see.
And
Because it's always
all of you
cool.
are on the same bill? It's,
All of us, yeah.
wow. It's a metal mania.
There's going to be a barn burner. It's actually called it's Stretchers. Stretchers kind of like doing this. I think that what they're trying to do is do an annual show every year, and it's called the Irish Christmas. So since it's before St. Patty's Day and
Right.
Irish Christmas, Santa Claus is green, and it's going to be fun. So yeah, it's going to be a barn burner. We're really excited about it. We've played with them before at the same venue. The venue is killer. It's right on the beach.
Nice.
So anybody in San Diego ain't doing nothing this weekend. Next weekend on March 15th. Show starts at 7. Come on down. Let's hang out.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. We'll have to get you up to this side of the state eventually.
Yes, absolutely. I know that we're going to start venturing out. We're kind of taking up to the summer to kind of get ourselves back in the swing of things here, work out the kinks, and then we're going to take the live show, kind of get up in LA into Long Beach. And I would love to come up to the Bay. I would love to come up to Northern California. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
love it up there. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Except today. I told you it's not the
Yeah.
greatest weather today, but
Sorry, you just go hang out in the trees in the forest for a little bit, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't
true.
matter anymore after that.
That is true. All right. Awesome. All right. And then I know you've got a website, fractures.com.
hmm
And this Fractures, by the way, if you do a search for them, don't get confused. It's Fraxures. Because I did find when you search, even though I typed it in with the X, it wants to bring me to one with the CT. So,
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that band it's like a bigger kind of electronic pop group.
right.
We didn't know at the time, and then we were like, well, it is what it is. We've already got a logo. We've already established it. We're just gonna keep on keeping on.
And I like it with that spelling, actually. I think
Yeah,
it
it's cool.
fits, with the type of music you're doing. I think it's a good name. But yeah, so fractures.com. And yeah, we'll look forward to, I know you probably can't say yet when the next single will be out, but we'll look forward to when it does make an appearance.
Well, we'll definitely anybody that's listening that's local or that wants to come to the show. If they really want to get a preview of the next single, we're actually going to debut it at the next show. We're going to play it. So
I'm jealous. See, I'm so bummed. I can't come March 15th. I would drive down there, but I can't that weekend. I got other things
no,
going on.
no problem. That's a long haul, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. All right, everybody. Well, check this out. We're going to play Blackheart Serenade, for me, the debut single. Getting as I've gotten familiar with Fractures from that song. I think you'll love it if you didn't hear it on our music show. And certainly as they release more music, you'll keep hearing it here on Radio Bypass for sure, because I know I'm going to love all of it because I love this song so much.
Heck
So,
yeah.
Travis, thank you so much for coming by Radio Bypass and telling us a little bit about your band. And when that album sees the light of day, I'd love to have you back.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the interest in the band. Thank you, all the listeners, for taking a listen and supporting Radio Bypass and supporting Fractures. We're stoked to be a part of the show.
All right, man. Cool.
All
All right,
right,
everybody.
brother.
Let's rock.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Blackheart Serenade.
With every splinter in my heart, I can feel them tearing through red to dark. Who's to blame? Who's to blame? I am the moth into the flame. I just fall